Sound Dragon Quartet, Book 1, The Yellow Dragon, Chapter 10. You are the Loresteline of the Tulips, a member of the Holy Order, sans the hat, and self-proclaimed Jasperin, pointed at Loresteline of the Daisies. Villainously, too, or perhaps the crook in his finger was an old injury healed too late. Loresteline of the Daisies poked her own gnarled finger back at herself. The cause of her gnarling much clearer. Age. Confused, she questioned, "Me?" Jasperin pivoted, pointing next to Loresteline of the Tulips. "And you are of the daisy trade, are you not?" "Not," Loresteline of the Tulips replied dryly, cutting her gaze to the gizzard sitting on the stone of the mess hall, a plump thing squirming in her lap. The Courvoisier, whom Loresteline of the Tulips had never seen beneath the fan of his hat, sat alone at a far table. Beneath his opulent robes, he sat with one leg valiantly thrown over the other. The material must be like carrying a small body of water around everywhere, yet he muscled through, all so he could sit in judgment. Chin propped in a hand, gaze turned to the wall. The holy man couldn't even deign to give the denizens of Lantern's Keep his face. Loresteline of the Tulips' mouth puckered. "What is the meaning of this?" "The meaning?" Jasperin could barely hold his shoulders up under the weight of his own robe, or at least that was her hope, as the foolish lad leaned to half-mast, each hand braced on his hips like billowing sails. "It appears that Lantern's Keep has been gifted with little to no supervision. If the two of you can so conveniently forget your duties, your vows to this kingdom." Loresteline of the Tulips rolled her eyes, but Loresteline of the Daisies reacted so strongly that her protests scalded her throat into incessant coughing. "You took a vow of solitude!" Jasperin raged as the lighthouse keeper ambled down the stairs, his sleep hat clinging only onto one ear. "Not to live a dragon's snout away from each other, not to mingle with the worldly." For this, he cut his eyes savagely to the old man, who creakily, blearily, lowered himself so that he sat on the floor with the gizzard and the thing. "Or whatever that is." At last, the fiery holy man, without the hat, pointed an accusatory finger at the gizzard. It had come full circle. "What are your intentions from here?" Loresteline of the Tulips directed her voice, eyes, feet, and ears toward only one source, not the barking dog frothing at the mouth. The Courvoisier, still staring at the grains in the wall, heaved a sigh. "What of her parentage? Is she one of us?" Loresteline of the Tulips waited. Slowly, so slow as to mirror the fading of a photograph over decades, the Courvoisier turned to face her. To which she finally shrugged. "Who knows?" Jasperin imploded, hands digging at his fiery hair with all the care of a blundering dragonling. "You don't even know what she is? You don't even know. You've gotta be." "I want to know what you intend to do from here," Loresteline of the Tulips cut in, eyes never straying from the hooded gaze of his eminence. "Obviously, we'll take her," the Courvoisier said. Loresteline of the Tulips was surprised at the soft pressure against her heart, like the flapping of a gizzard's wings. Loresteline of the Daisies, reanimating out of a doll, sat to attention. "Our little buttercup? Do you have to?" But the lighthouse keeper only gazed up from the floor, in a way that made Loresteline of the Tulips unsure if it was his cataracts or the light of clarity shining out. "It's time, then," he hummed, reaching out one hand, careful to stay away from the thing. He patted the gizzard's head, throwing her bauble of a bun ricocheting somewhere off to one ear. With his hat and her hair, they matched like grandfather and granddaughter. Those two always matched in places they shouldn't. Without another word, Loresteline of the Tulips turned, shuffling over to a nook of a closet. As Loresteline of the Daisies puttered her disapproval, her voice reenacting feet dragging through sand, Loresteline of the Tulips located and grabbed the object propped in the shadows. She returned, holding out the broom with the crack in its handle, its head a mess of twigs. "This is yours," she said to the gizzard, who looked up at her with nothing but vacancy. Of course. The gizzard was one untouched by the workings of this world. Loresteline of the Tulip's hand tightened on the handle, but her face remained calm. "Come grab it, you little gizzard." The lighthouse keeper helped the girl rise to her feet, encumbered as she was by the thing. Rin's eyes flashed and her chin trembled, but she stubbornly gripped the thing with one hand while her other accepted the broom into her open fist. Their fingers brushed in a quiet snapping of an invisible thread. Such was the fate of the Lorestelines and the fate of gizzards. "Broom?" Rin asked quietly. Loresteline of the Tulips heaved a smile, her whole body sliding into it as well. "Yes, child," she said.